If you're thinking of buying a coastal property in Nova Scotia, the government has come out with two great tools, a checklist and a coastal hazard map, that are there to assist you in evaluating coastal property when you're thinking of purchasing either a home on a coastal property, coastal land, or even for selling your own coastal property. I'm Cheryl Cook, I love homes, and I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Nova here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And today we're going to take a quick look at the checklist for buying a coastal home in Nova Scotia. Then we're going to look at the interactive coastal hazard map. And I'm going to show you a live example of a listing I have right now that is a coastal property and how we would use those tools to help evaluate a purchase of a property like that. So first on the screen in front of you, you see the checklist for buying a coastal home in Nova Scotia. The main areas the government wants you to think about here when you're looking at coastal properties are, of course, climate change, flooding, water, waves, and erosion. So on this list, they have some great questions to go through when you're looking at coastal properties or thinking of selling one. So does the Nova Scotia coastal hazard map show any hazards for the property? And I'm going to show you that map in a minute, so we'll look at that. They also want you to think about whether or not the municipality has their own flood maps for the area that you could look at, streams, rivers, and waterways nearby that might flood, and where they drain out near the property to the ocean. How exposed is the property itself? So is it on open ocean or in a more secluded area? Are there any natural things like dunes or marshes that might assist with preventing erosion and storm surges? And where does water drain off on the property? So when we think about coastal erosion, they have some good questions here around the history of coastal erosion on the property. And often we can see that right on the property or with satellite images. The structures, the house, the driveway, how close are they to the water? Are they elevated or are they at sea level itself? Are there plants, trees, or shrubs that might be assisting to stop erosion? And what sort of human-made structures are there, if any? Is there any armoring or seawalls that might be there to help with erosion and storm surges? They also want you to think about structures and utilities. So septic systems and wells are very common on properties that are coastal here because they are often rural properties. So you need to think about the location of the septic system and the well itself and how these might be impacted in the event of flooding or erosion itself. And you want to think about, of course, getting well water tests and septic tests. Personally, when I have buyers looking at properties, I always tell them get things inspected. So if there is a septic system, if there's a well, you want to test the water, test the well function, test the septic itself. That's really important. And you want to look at municipal, provincial, and federal regulations when it comes to building structures on a coastal property. If you want to build on one or build onto something that is already there, you need to know the rules about coastal areas. So these are all really great things to think about in terms of that. And then they've put out as well this interactive coastal hazard map. And I absolutely love this tool. So first we're going to just pull back here and I'm going to show you where we're at. This is Nova Scotia, a map. And obviously this little boot here is Halifax. And we're going to go out on the eastern shore, which is known for its rugged topography, beautiful beaches and waves and ocean views. And we're going to look here. This is Jador Harbor. That's West Jador, East Jador. And we're going to zoom in on a property that I currently have listed with Elizabeth Martin at RE/MAX Nova. This is 143 Heartland Settlement Road. This is a coastal waterfront property. So this map has a lot of different tools and layers, but one of my favorite things that you can do with this is you have layers over here that you can light up. So first we look at the high water coastline. So there it is, and we can see this is the property here. The house is situated right around here, and I'm going to show you some pictures of the property that will put this in context in just a minute. We have another line here. So this green shows current day predicted flooding. So if there's flooding, storm surging, where do they expect to see the water to go? And in a couple of areas here, you can see an awful lot of that. And when you look at the pictures, that will of course make more sense. You'll see how those are very low-lying areas there. This next one is the projected worst case flooding 25 years from now in 2050. And then we have the projected worst case flooding in 75 years from now, 2100. So that not looking so good in some areas, I have to be honest. So you can see how this tool would be very useful for evaluating purchase of a property if you're thinking of staying there for some time and maybe making a home. You want to be sure that this is an area that may not be impacted, or you want to understand at least the long-term implications of being there. So you've got this and other tools in here. You can click right on the property to get some additional information from the projected current day flooding, and then 2050, and then again in 2100. So that gives you some great information. So now let's take a look at this in the context of this actual property here, 143 Heartland Settlement Road. If we look here, you can see this is the house in question. So flipping back here, this is the road, driveway comes up here, house is sitting here, and here's your waterfront. So having a look at this, if we look at this and think about that checklist. So first, do we have natural things like trees? You can see that on surrounding property. And when you were thinking of these areas here off the property and how low they are, if I flip over here and just show you an aerial shot, oh, maybe we'll just pull out here. Yes, there you go. This makes much more sense. That's the area that's covered in green. So of course that's very low, it's right at sea level, and that makes sense. So when we look at properties like this, we're looking at the trees around here. What do we have? Do we have the human-made structures here? We do. In this case, the original owners probably took the trees out here so they could maintain the view. The current owners put in a boat ramp and then built a first 15-foot seawall here, and then you can see another wall here. And if you'd like to get a sense of the size of that, this is the smaller wall here. So you can see the size of the rocks that are used. We have a lot of rocks here, never a shortage of that. So you have a really great seawall that's there to not only discourage erosion, but to help with storm surges as well. Now, if we look at the house itself and we talk about where the buildings and structures and utilities are, we can see that the house is set up at an elevation. This is a garage pad for a future garage, and that is also nice and high, and the shed back here as well. Now, if we flip over, we'll take a look here. We talk about building materials. We can see that this is a well-maintained home, but it also has a metal roof, which is always a great thing in terms of longevity. And then when we look at an aerial shot here, so you can see the cove there, the house here, and then these two green dots are the giveaway that that's the septic. So that is up and back, and I know from personal experience the well is over here. So you have the well and septic set up and back as well. And that's really important to keep those away from the water and away from any flooding that might occur. And then you pair this with the map to have a look at how things look. And because this is pulling out again, we'll see not on the open ocean out here, but actually within a harbor, and within the harbor on a cove. This is actually a pretty nice situation when you're looking at a waterfront home. You may not get spectacular big waves, but you may not get all the stuff that comes with those as well. So that is a live look at a property in terms of using the checklist for buying a coastal home and the coastal hazard map. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions about purchasing coastal homes in Nova Scotia, buying or selling homes in general, or this home in particular, you can always reach out, call, text, or email me anytime. I'm always happy to answer your questions.